Good evening and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. As always, we're back with another massive show to bring you guys this evening. But before we jump into that, please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel, bottom right hand corner, if this is your first time watching. On the show this evening, we're going to be reacting to the news that John Murtough looks set to be gone soon, but Richard Arnold has left his position as CEO of Manchester United, and a new CEO is set to be appointed in the coming days. We'll also be talking about the Jadon Sancho price that has been set ahead of the January transfer window. Lots of other bits to get involved in on the show tonight as well. So do make sure, as always, you get involved in the comment section, you get involved in the live chat. Let me know your thoughts on everything we discuss. So let's start off with the big story of the day, and that is... what is the big story of the day, everyone? The big story is obviously Richard Arnold. So for anybody who's been living under a rock for the last 5 or 6 hours, Richard Arnold has officially gone. He's no longer the CEO of Manchester United. And you know what? I think this is great. I do. I think it's a first step in the right direction. Obviously, I'm not going to be sitting here saying we're going to win the league because Richard Arnold's gone. That's simply not going to happen. There's a lot more work that needs to be done than that. But this has been confirmed by the club. So this isn't speculation. This isn't, people on Twitter spreading gossip. This is 100% fact. Richard Arnold has left his position as CEO. He has been involved in Manchester United for about 16 years in various different roles. So to me, he just screams mediocrity. He seems like somebody who's been involved in all of our failures for a very, very long time. He was one of the people that came in post Sir Alex Ferguson. He's now got the same job as what David Gill had. It's time that we got rid of these types of people. They've clearly not performed well and they have to go. So he's gone. Now, moving over to John Murtough. The story this afternoon is that John Murtough's role is now believed to be under threat as Sir Jim Ratcliffe seeks to overhaul the structure at Manchester United. And I welcome this completely. I do. He has to go. John Murtough needs to go. Paul Mitchell needs to come in. That's what needs to happen. Obviously, John Murtough is the current director of football. He's the man who went to Turin to try and get Adrian Rabiot and got scared and had to go back. He went over to Turin, didn't he? He had to go and meet Adrian Rabiot's mother, who's his agent, and he came back with nothing. He went over to Barcelona with Richard Arnold. We saw them all we saw them in a bar, didn't we? To get Frankie de Jong, he came back with nothing. He just has failed for me as the director of football. The signings that he's made have been poor. He spent 100 million euros on Antony. The list goes on and on and on and on. He brought in people like Mason Mount. All of that's been blamed on Erik ten Hag, but I actually think that's incorrect. It should be focused on John Murtough. He was the director of football at the time. He should have been the one that was creating this vision for Manchester United. He didn't have a vision. He didn't know what to do, so he simply just asked Erik ten Hag to pick whoever he wanted. And that's how we ended up spending 100 million on Antony. That's how we ended up spending 60 million on Mason Mount, even though we didn't need him. And the list goes on and on and on and on. So very, very happy that both of them have just gone. Arnold sacked, Murtough, John Murtough will be next, apparently. Now, let's try and think about this in a positive way. Let's look to the future. Off the back of this, it does look like Jean-Claude Blanc will be announced as the new CEO. So the headline this afternoon is the following. It is Jean-Claude Blanc is now set to become Manchester United's new chief executive officer, the CEO, once Sir Jim Ratcliffe's minority stake is completed. It says United also want Paul Mitchell as the director of football. Paul Mitchell is ready to sign the contract, but some details still need to be finalised. So that looks like is going to be the face of the new Manchester United management team, if you like. There'll be Erik ten Hag coaching the players. You'll have Paul Mitchell as the director of football, whose job will be to bring in young talent. We've seen some of the players he's identified, people like Son, people like Sadio Mane, people like Nkunku. He's even when you go further back, Toby Alderweireld, who else has he discovered? Who was the other one? Tadic. He's found some really, really good players. So I'm really, really excited about seeing what Paul Mitchell can do. And I really hope that this is the start of us actually signing younger people that I've never heard of and turning them into the next, I don't know, whoever it might be, Sadio Mane, the next world-class player. Because I'm sick of bringing in distinctly average players for stupid amounts of money and then actually making them worse. You think the Antonys, you think the Mounts, you think, who else have we done that's been like that? Let's just say Antony and Mount for the time being. I mean, both of those players are not world-class, and I don't think they have the ceiling to ever become world-class. And if they did, we've clearly not done anything to help them get on that journey. So hopefully these two new people can come in, form a really, really strong team, take a lot of that pressure away from Erik ten Hag, because he should not be having any say in, doing the scouting and stuff. That's not his job. His job's to coach the players. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. Daniel says we should do what Liverpool do, spend 100 to 140 million on 3 to 4 players other than spend 90 million on one player. Yes, I 100% agree with you. What else have we got? Romano says Ineos is only doing what the fans want for now to quiet us down. I don't think so, mate. I don't think so. I genuinely do think that Ineos want the best for Manchester United. Obviously, they weren't my preferred option, but I don't think they're going to come in and do nothing. I think they are going to try and come in and actively make change at Manchester United. Will it work? Will it be successful? I don't know. No, none of us are fortune tellers here. We can obviously hope, we can pray that it will happen, but we'll have to wait and see whether, all of these changes actually make any difference. Michelle says, I don't think Erik ten Hag even wanted Mount like they did it before. I don't think they did. I don't think he did either, to be honest with you. I don't think Erik ten Hag wanted Mason Mount. And I think that the press were the ones who put together this whole thing of, Erik ten Hag liked Mason Mount when he was on loan in the Eredivisie 7 years ago. Like, they painted this whole story where Erik ten Hag's, Mason Mount's dream player and all the rest of it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Lumen says, Kieran, do you think Sheikh Jassim would have done the same thing? Yeah, I reckon he would have. I reckon we would have probably had very similar director of footballs under Sheikh Jassim. I honestly do, because I think Sheikh Jassim would have got the best, and I think Paul Mitchell is one of the best ones available at this moment in time. So I'm happy with that. If Paul Mitchell comes in as the director of football and Jean-Claude Blanc as the CEO, I'm happy with that. Like, when you look at both of their track records, they've done a very good job in their previous clubs, in their previous businesses. Obviously, Jean-Claude Blanc is heavily involved in the Tour de France. He is been involved in PSG, Juventus. Like, he's done loads of stuff in football. And obviously Paul Mitchell, we've spoke about already on this channel many times, discovering people like Sadio Mane, obviously Nkunku, like plenty of really, really talented players. So there's definitely a good player there. The Unlimited says, who do you think sacked him, the Glazers or Ineos? Apparently it was Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who got rid of Richard Arnold today. And that was 100% the correct decision for me. 100%. Like, yes, he did a good job in getting that new Adidas deal for us, but he's not the person to take us forward. He's got no footballing intelligence. He only knows about business. And with Jim Ratcliffe coming in to focus on the sporting side, it's essential that we have somebody here who his primary focus is football. Manchester United as a commercial being makes stupid amounts of money anyway. Like, you've seen how bad we are on the pitch at the moment. We've won one trophy in 6 years, and we're still making record amounts of money from the commercial side. We've got the biggest shirt sponsorship deal in the world. We've got the biggest kit manufacturing deal in the world, like out of any club in world football. Man City have just won the treble, yet we still make more money off our sponsorships on our shirts than they do. So, yeah, I think we have to remember that, and we have to now realign ourselves and say the Manchester United as a commercial company, business, football club, whatever you want to call it, is very, very successful. We've done an incredible job. But from a footballing perspective, we're 10, 15 years behind the best, probably. And that's not even being dramatic. I'd say we are probably 10 years behind Man City. If you think of our facilities, if you think of our stadium, if you think of our playing squad, if you think of us not having a style of football, if you think about the debt we're under, the list goes on and on and on and on. And it's going to take probably 5 to 10 years to get those things anywhere near to a level of a Man City or even a Liverpool at the moment, or even maybe an Arsenal. Let's see what else people are saying in the chat this evening. Let's have a look. Lumen says, Kieran, Erik ten Hag went to Mount's home to convince him. Okay, I've not heard that before, but fair enough. William says, have Blanc and Mitchell is definitely a great step in the right direction. Yes, mate, I 100% agree with you. I'm feeling positive about that. Obviously, I wanted Sheikh Jassim. Obviously, I wanted Qatar. Obviously, I wanted the debt gone. I wanted the stadium. I wanted the stadium to be brand new and loads of money spent on it. I wanted the Glazers out. That was obviously my message from the very, very beginning, and you all know that. But we are where we are now, and I think mulling on the past is just going to get us nowhere. And yeah, I think what I've seen so far in the last week or so, I think is a positive step in the right direction. It's maybe not as good as what was on offer, the debt gone, blah, 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 that Sheikh Jassim was going to offer. But at the end of the day, you never know what's going to happen, do you? Sheikh Jassim might have come in and it might have flopped. So we've just got to try and be positive. And I think the most important thing for me is we've just got to get behind the manager, back the manager, give him time, and let's judge him in 1 or 2 seasons. Once he's got a proper team behind him, right? Once he's got this Jean-Claude Blanc, once he's got a director of football, if in 2 years there's still no style of play and we're looking poor, then maybe we can start asking questions, I think. But that's just my opinion. Let me know how long you're going to give Erik ten Hag in the comment section and in the live chat. For me, this is the beginning now. The beginning starts the day that Paul Mitchell and Jean-Claude Blanc come in, when I know that we've got competent people helping him to do things. At that point, then I'll start. The timer will start then, and I'll give him 1 to 2 seasons before I start being critical. He's had his hands tied behind his back, you know? No manager should ever have to be the scout of the club, the coach. He was even coaching the under-21s for a bit as well. Like, it's ridiculous, and it should never happen. Thank you so much to Romano, who's just joined the Daily Red Devil Members Club. Thank you very much, mate. If anybody does want to join the Members Club, for this month only, we're doing it for 99p as a thank you for helping us achieve 20,000 members on this channel or community, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, if you do want to join the Daily Red Devil Members Club, I've just dropped a link in the chat. You get a badge next to your name. It's only 99p to join. After this month, we'll be putting it back to the normal price, which is like £3 or £4. So yeah, if you do want to get involved, please go and do that. And if you aren't in a position financially to support the channel, that's obviously completely fine. Please do make sure to smash a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Right, let's crack on with the rest of the show. But yeah, big ups to Romano86. I always see you on air. Thank you very much for the support. Let's talk a little bit about this Jadon Sancho thing really quickly then. So obviously we spoke this morning about the stories that apparently Manchester United want Juventus or whoever it is who's trying to loan him to pay 70% of the wages, which is never going to happen. They're never going to pay that type of money for Jadon Sancho. Now, the story coming out now is that apparently Manchester United are refusing to let Jadon Sancho leave on the cheap in the January transfer window, despite Erik ten Hag wanting rid of him. It goes on to say that United now are asking for up to £50 million for Jadon Sancho. Now, where does this leave Manchester United and where does this leave Jadon Sancho? Well, if he wants to go to Juventus, if he's got his heart set on that, I'm looking at Juventus and saying, right, what wingers do Juventus have? I'm thinking Chiesa. That's the person I go for. I say to them, right, you've got obviously Chiesa and you want Jadon Sancho. Let's do a deal. You know, you can have Sancho and we'll give you a little bit more extra money. Like, something like that has to happen for me. A swap deal would work for us because we desperately need a right-sided midfielder, or even a left-sided midfielder, someone who can play on both of those wings, but ideally a right-sided one. And Chiesa, obviously still very young, Italian international, quality player. I would definitely look to get him in very fast. So hopefully that's something can happen here. If not, I think around 50 million is a realistic price for the Saudi clubs. When you think they spent about, how much did they buy Mitrovic for? Let me have a double check. I think it was about 50 million, wasn't it? Yeah, they paid. So in the summer, Al Hilal spent £50 million, $64 million on Mitrovic, 29 years of age. Whereas you've got Jadon Sancho here, 23 years of age. Like, the Saudi clubs should surely be offering that same type of money for Jadon Sancho if they paid 50 million for a 29-year-old who's been playing at Fulham. And you know that Jadon Sancho has a way bigger marketing kind of drive for the Saudi league than Mitrovic. I mean, if you look on, has Jadon Sancho deleted his Instagram again? I was about to say, if you look at, yeah, he has. Jadon Sancho's deleted his Instagram again. He's on Twitter. He's got 2.2 million followers on Twitter. Do you know what's really weird still, right? I've just got on his Twitter. I haven't been on his Twitter for ages, but Jadon Sancho's picture on Twitter is still him and Erik ten Hag as the profile picture. It's really weird, isn't it? And I do want to know what's like happened here, because like, why would you have a picture of you and the manager and Sancho smiling as your profile picture if you had such a big problem with him? Like, it's really strange. But yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? Let me know in the comment section, guys, how much do you think would be a fair price for Jadon? Let's see what else we've got in the chat today. Daniel says they want Sancho, they can pay the transfer fee, or they could do a swap deal. The issue will come down to the wages, and Sancho will also ask for compensation for the rest of his contract like Maguire did. I mean, if he does that, that's just an absolute disgrace. Refuses to play, refuses to apologise to the manager, and then asks for compensation. I don't think he'd do that, to be honest. I think he would leave if the right offer came in, because otherwise he's never going to play football again. He'll just sit on the bench for 3 years. We're not even on the bench. He'll sit in the under-21s training centre eating his ham and cheese sandwiches in his car because he's not allowed into the canteen with the rest of the players. Like, do you really think he'll do that for the rest of his days at Manchester United? 3 years left on his contract? I don't think so. I'm 99% sure that Jadon will leave in January. He has to go. And like, he's still young. If he was in his mid-30s, I think he'd just sit there and collect his money. He's 23 years of age. Just let that sink in for a minute. 23. Like, he's still very, very young. Right, let's see what else we have planned for the show. Obviously, we spoke about John Murtough, spoke about Richard Arnold. In relation to when the Jim Ratcliffe deal is going to be announced, we're expecting in the next 2 to 3 days that to be announced. It will be announced during the international break. That's the report coming out today. Obviously, the international break ends next week. So we've got about 10 days until the international break ends, but by that point, we will know the exact finite details of the deal. I'm hoping that Jim Ratcliffe sits down and does an interview, maybe on something like The Overlap, the thing that Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher do, like something like that. He needs to do an interview on the mainstream where he literally is asked tough questions and they're answered. And I'm really, really hoping that happens, because I think that's what we need desperately. We need some clarity. We need to know exactly what's going on. So let's see what else people are coming in. Benjamin says 50 million is a fair price for Sancho. I would agree with you there, mate. Somebody says Manchester United is refusing to let Sancho go on a free. 50 million is a realistic price. He should not go any cheaper. Jaden is young. I would agree with you there as well, mate. Irvin says, Kieran, do you know how much it would have cost to let Arnold go? Also, that payoff will affect our January transfer window. That's a good question, mate. I'm not sure. Let me have a look. Richard Arnold wages. I mean, they're not going to be paid. They're not going to be paid the same amount of money as as footballers. It will be a much smaller amount of money, I would imagine. But again, I don't know. I don't really know how. Yeah, it doesn't really say anywhere, to be honest. I mean, Ed Woodward was paid 3 million a season by Manchester United. That is absolutely crazy, isn't it? Ed Woodward, considering how much of a poor job he did. 3 million a season Ed Woodward got. I imagine Richard Arnold would have been on about half of that. He might have got bonuses and stuff and commissions for doing things, but I can't imagine Richard Arnold being paid anywhere near what Ed Woodward did. What else have we got in the chat today? The Unlimited says, Kieran, can Manchester United recruit this recruitment team in the chat? That would be great, wouldn't it? Yeah. I think we'd do a lot better if we had a couple of people. There's a couple of people who have some really good young names that they bring into the chat, some good scouting. Somebody says Sancho and Martial go in January, 40 million off the wage bill. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the fact that both of them are on 250 grand plus per week, removing that, as you said, would be 40 million in the bank. Like, it's easy money, isn't it? What else have we got? Remnant says Sancho is waiting for Erik ten Hag to be sacked. I think that's a fair point. I do. I really, really do. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. But I don't know. We spoke about this on the show this morning, so I don't want to mull on it for too long. But the next 10 games for Manchester United are very, very difficult. And maybe Jadon Sancho is waiting for Erik ten Hag to be sacked. Maybe he thinks that if a new manager comes in, he'll get his place back. But I just don't see it personally. Although arguably we do need a new right winger. Anthony's clearly not good enough. Jadon Sancho was bought to play in that right wing position. Like, the answer is already there in some ways. So I do get it. And I'm sure that these types of conversations will be being had if the results start going against us. Jim Ratcliffe and all the rest of them. If say we lose the next 7 games, right? Say we lose against Galatasaray, we're out of the Champions League. We lose against Everton away next weekend, then lose to Newcastle. Like, that's very realistic. It's 3 away games. Like, we could easily lose them all. And then Jim Ratcliffe comes in and he says, we've got no money to spend in January. We need Jadon Sancho to work again. Casemiro seems to have fallen out with the manager a bit. Varane does. Maybe they just say, you know what? Getting rid of the manager is a cheaper way than bringing in other players. But do you know what I will say, right? That sounds to me more like something the Glazers would do. The Glazers had a knack of always just removing the manager. They never focused on the players. Fred says 20k and a great set of guys make this community a joy. Big ups for the super chat, mate. Really, really appreciate it. And massive shouts to everybody who watches the show every morning and evening. Really, really do appreciate you. And as you said, there's so many great people in this community. There's so much great chat. Everyone's very, very respectful to one another, which I just think is good. I think it's important. And I've always tried to spread that on this channel, where if people have differing opinions, I'll always read them out and we can discuss them. And I don't, it's a nice place to come and have a chat. So yeah, big ups to all of you. Richie says Ineos will want Anthony out and keep Sancho, I bet. Mate, I wouldn't be surprised. I really, really wouldn't. I would not be surprised whatsoever. What else have we got? Let's read out a couple more of your comments quickly. Mohammed says, since Sancho came to Manchester United, he's only had 5 good games. His United career will only be remembered for that goal against Liverpool. Yeah, I think that's fair. MUFC 90 says, fire Eric Ten Hag and we are back to square one. Keep him for at least 2 more seasons. I agree with you, mate. 100%. 150%. Malp says, all these outgoings are irrelevant. At the end of the day, the Glazers are going nowhere. We have to wait and see, mate. We do. We have to wait and see until this official announcement, okay? I'm trying to stay positive until that happens. As I said, I hope that Jim Ratcliffe does some sort of interview with mainstream media where he's asked the difficult questions. When are you going to be taking over the club in full? Have you got it written in writing that the Glazers will sell you the club? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I want all of these answers, all of these questions answered. And until then, I'm trying to stay positive because otherwise I think it will just drive us all crazy. We just have to pray that Jim Ratcliffe knows what he's doing and that his plan is to get rid of the Glazers. It's not just to get into bed with them for the next 10, 20, 30 years. Because obviously if that happens, it's going to be bad. It will be. But I think until it happens, there's too much speculating going on at the moment. There's too many people saying, oh, this is what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. And in reality, nobody knows. So I think it's better we just wait. Obviously, we can discuss it. We can, look at the 2 different outcomes. But I just honestly think from what I've seen and what I've heard, that Jim Ratcliffe isn't stupid enough to come into Manchester United and only ever expect to own 25%. I just think that's dumb, especially if he's going to put his own money into it, for the stadium, for all of these other things. I just don't think it makes much sense to me. But we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, at the moment, nobody knows. It could go either way. But hopefully that in the next couple of days, we'll get some clarity on that. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Portuguese midfielder we spoke about on the show this morning, João Neves. Now, obviously, Manchester United are apparently scouting him at the moment. This is what Fabrizio said last night, that United have sent scouts out to watch him play. I think it's against Sporting Lisbon this coming weekend. There's more stories coming out about this player this afternoon saying that apparently Manchester United are already convinced that they should sign Benfica midfielder João Neves. You know what? I think he'd be a great signing, but the issue I have with him is his release clause. 100 million euros. He just signed a new contract. And I just think that we need to start bringing in players before they're 100 million euros. We've been burned so many times by bringing in these, the Antonys, the Pogbas, the Lukakus, like these people who are like nearly 100 million and it doesn't work. And then we look stupid and we let them go for half of that money a few years later. This needs to be where we change the tides. We need to start bringing in these players before they're worth 100 million. We need to rely on our new director of football to be scouting these people, to be looking all over the world, be bringing people in from Ecuador, like that we've never heard of, people from Argentina that we've never heard of. Like, I'm more than willing to accept that at this point. Like, I'd be really happy if, in the summer we signed 2 or 3 players that I'd never heard of for small amounts of money who are going to be for the future. Like, I'm happy for that. But let me know what you guys think. Do you want immediate big names? Do you want the Ossimans, I can't think of any other examples off the top of my head, but you know what I mean. What would you prefer? 1 or 2 massive signings or 6 or 7 young players who could be in the squad for the next 10, 15 years? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. The thing with me is, right, I think that Osimhen and all of these types of people would be great. I do. I would love that to happen. But we're not Man City. We arguably need a whole new starting 11, maybe bar 1 or 2 players. So you could bring in Osimhen and he'd probably score no goals, and then everyone will say he's a flop. It's pointless. Whereas if Man City or Chelsea or Liverpool or someone like that brought in an Osimhen, they would obviously do well because they've already got, a good squad of good players. Chelsea get laughed at, but I'm telling you, Chelsea are going to be one of the best teams in the world, I reckon, in the next 3 to 5 years because they've invested very well. They've brought in a lot of very young, talented players who are just going to get better and better and better under the new manager. Whereas with Manchester United, we've got an ageing squad. Our best players are all nearly 30. You think the Casemiros, the Varans, the Brunos, they're all 30 or older. So we need to really look at that. Let's read out a couple more questions and comments before we end the show. Let's have a look what else we got. MUFC 90 says, I'd rather take Tony over Osimhen. Yeah, I get your point. I mean, he's Premier League proven. He'd probably be less money. Osimhen's going to cost you 150 million, whereas Tony's probably going to be, 60? So I get your point. For half the money, he's probably going to get you more goals. He is a bit older, though, isn't he? Irvin says, Kieran, Manchester United has scouts. Where were they in the past 15 years? Mate, I don't know. They probably went off on holiday with John Murtough and Richard Arnold. I honestly have no idea, because the only people we've scouted successfully in the last 10 years that I can really remember is Garnacho from Atletico Madrid. Remember, Garnacho didn't come through the youth academy. He was signed into our youth academy, but it's not like he's been here since he was 5. I think he joined 2 or 3 years ago. We signed him from Atletico Madrid for £500,000. So that's like the only name I can think of in the last kind of 10 years where we've discovered a player who's gone on to be, I mean, he's obviously not world class yet, but I think Garnacho could be world class. But other than that, I think that's it. Who's this Billy person? Someone keeps saying Billy, but I can't see anybody in the chat called Billy. I might be getting a bit confused there. Malp says Murtough and Erik ten Hag will get sacked next. Probably. I said this on the show this morning, guys. I'm 150% behind Erik ten Hag, but this next 10 games that we have, Newcastle, West Ham, Aston Villa, Chelsea, Liverpool, Bayern Munich, Galatasaray, Everton away, like, there isn't an easy game in the next 10 games. It's going to be very, very, very difficult. But I'm going to wrap this show up here, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who joined me this evening. Again, big ups to every single one of you in this community. I really, really do enjoy speaking to you every morning and evening. Thank you to all the people who joined the members club today. If you do want to join the members club, just click the $sign, or if not, please do make sure to subscribe before you leave today, and please do smash a like on the video as well. Okay, William is Billy. Cool. All right, nice one. Well, big ups, everybody. I'll catch you all at 8:30 tomorrow. I hope you have a good evening, morning, day, wherever you are in the world. And yeah, I'll speak to you later.